Part of talking on the internet about crypto all the time is that you're eventually going to be wrong. And I'm a man, and part of being a man is that you have to admit when you're wrong. Over the past couple of weeks, I've definitely gotten some things wrong. But recently I got out and I touched some grass, and when you do touch grass, you return to caveman. And now that I'm back, I'm going to go ahead and return to being right. Recently, I've broken a lot of my own rules, like not letting your emotions dictate which direction you think the market is going to be heading, and I've been paying way too much attention to what other people say and not really thinking for myself. And now, with crypto starting to pump again like it has in the past week, with even Ethereum exploding, honestly, it's making me want to degen. But that's just emotional trading as well. So I've reevaluated my thesis, and maybe this bull market does have a little bit left to go, and maybe there is going to be an alt season. But I still think that Bitcoin is probably going to top out before a lot of people are expecting it to, because recently I've been seeing that people think the market is going to continue pumping deep into next year, and maybe Bitcoin is going to make it to like $400,000 or something crazy like that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is highly unlikely. And statistics say that 90 something percent of people are going to be wrong. So, with most people calling for these crazy kind of price targets, I just want to keep it 100% real with you guys and let you know what I'm thinking. I'm still sticking with my guns, and I've been talking about this cup and handle formation that's been playing out here for like over a year now. Actually, we entered the handle of it about a year ago, and the cup was forming from all the way back in November of 2021. This is one of my favorite patterns, and I do still think that we're probably going to reach the price target for it of about $120,000 or so. And I still do believe that this ascending resistance line that's been in play ever since the very beginning of cryptocurrency, whenever Bitcoin was created back in 2009, is still going to be playing out as probably the top and still resistance. And that perfectly coincides with that price target of about $120,000 that would be the price target if we do actually see the fulfillment of this cup and handle. So I still think that that's going to be a really great place to take some profits. Not necessarily just for Bitcoin, but mostly for altcoins. And they do say that altcoin season usually is the end of the bull market. So if we continue up with Bitcoin to that price target of $120,000, then maybe this is going to be the beginning of that broader altcoin season that everybody's been looking for. And a good sign of that starting to happen is Ethereum has pumped more than 30% in the past week. According to CoinMarketCap.com, it looks like it's pumped about 35%, and even Dogecoin is pumped up almost 34%, with them being the two biggest gainers here in the top 10. I've been saying that the meme coin mania we saw earlier this year was probably the altcoin season, and I would say still that it certainly was one. But a lot of people are expecting that we're going to be seeing a broader altcoin season, and maybe it's not going to be meme coins this time, although they might take a ride as well. But a lot of these coins, especially things like Ethereum and Dogecoin itself, have been highly undervalued in my opinion, and maybe it's just time for them to start catching up. Over the past few months, we saw pretty much nothing but bad news. We were seeing tariffs being implemented, and people were thinking that inflation might start coming back. Plus, it seemed like crypto took kind of a back seat when it came to Trump's priorities, and now we're starting to see the possibility of some really great crypto positive bills being introduced and maybe even put into legislation. We've seen the Genius Act being stalled by the Democrats in Congress, but it looks like they're going to be voting again on Monday, and maybe that's going to be a boon for the industry. Plus, in the past week, we just saw the OCC, or the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, announcing that regulated banks can now buy, sell, and custody cryptocurrency for their customers. A lot of people have been waiting for this to happen because many mainstream investors or retail investors won't feel comfortable custodying their own cryptocurrency because if they lose their private keys, then they could be hacked. Someone could steal all of their crypto, or maybe they just can't access their wallet. But people have been keeping their money in banks for hundreds of years. But now that they can put that responsibility into the hands of somebody who's insured and somebody who already holds the majority of the money that they make every single day, they're probably going to feel a lot more comfortable actually buying some crypto and not having the worry of somebody robbing them or hacking them or just them losing their wallet keys and totally losing access to their funds. This could mean that retail investors are about to start re entering the market finally, but they're always the last ones to enter the market before the peak actually comes. And that could mean that people are about to start flooding in, and the mainstream media is going to be talking about crypto again, and things are going to seem like they're never going to stop pumping. So it could be a great indicator that you want to do what the whales do and use those people as exit liquidity. Another really great piece of news that we got is that one of the people that were using retail investors as exit liquidity in the last bull market, Alex Mashinsky of Celsius, has finally been sentenced to 12 years in prison for fraud. This is going to show retail investors that there are actually consequences for people taking your money and doing bad things with it. So maybe this is also going to make people feel a little more comfortable investing in the space, and it could remove a little bit of the sentiment that cryptocurrency is just full of scams. But in my opinion, this is just the natural progression of what's going to happen as we continue to see the cryptocurrency space being regulated by the government. Hopefully, eventually, it's just going to be real crypto projects with actual utility and people who are following the law that are actually going to be running the space. And maybe this can actually restore the original narrative of cryptocurrency, that it's a world changing technology and it's not just full of fraudsters and hucksters like Gary Gensler used to say. But the real thing that has turned the market around, in my opinion, is that we finally got some clarity from Donald Trump about what the tariffs are going to be looking like, and maybe they're not going to continue going up. As a matter of fact, in the last week, we saw Donald Trump making a trade deal with the UK, and then he said, "You better go out and buy stocks now. Let me tell you, this country is going to be like a rocket ship that goes straight up." The last time Donald Trump said to go buy stocks, we saw a really huge pump, and I don't think that's going to stop because obviously he's the leader of the free world and kind of the leader of the economy at this point. But even better than that news is that right now, in the past like couple of hours, we just got news that the United States has reached a trade deal with China in Geneva, and it looks like they're going to announce the specifics of this trade deal tomorrow in some kind of a press brief. A lot of people have been expecting that these tariffs were going to lead to higher inflation, and that data hasn't worked its way into the economic readings yet, but eventually they will. And with these tariffs being lowered, this is going to leave room for Jerome Powell to finally start lowering interest rates whenever that data finally does make it into the books. All of these things are really going to be great for the price of cryptocurrencies and stocks and everything else. But the stock market and markets in general are usually just forward looking. So, right now, I think those things are going to be getting priced in. And whenever they do come to fruition, it might be a buy the rumor and sell the news situation. The moves in the past week are evidence that that is being priced into the market. For example, on Thursday, we did see $235 billion being added back into the cryptocurrency market, and some of the biggest gainers have been the ones that people have been saying were dead throughout this whole bull market. This is seeing many altcoins rise astronomically higher than what Bitcoin has been seeing. And if this continues, then this is how you see a blow off top pattern, which usually does indicate the top of the bull cycle. So, in my opinion, the end of the bull market is probably fast approaching, but we might still see some astronomical gains and even probably the biggest gainers of the whole bull market here in the next couple of months. But as I've been saying, it's probably going to end before a lot of people are expecting it to, and we're probably not going to see some of the astronomical price targets that a lot of people are going to be talking about on YouTube, because it's not telling the truth that actually gets you clicks. It's just trying to tell people that they're going to make more money than they actually are. Towards the end of the bull market, a lot of times it's kind of a game of saying the highest price targets that you can to get some kind of a shock factor, which actually does get more and more clicks. And obviously, that's what people who make YouTube videos are usually after, because more clicks equals more money for them. But if you can actually learn to read the charts, then that's probably going to give you a great advantage. And using some of these indicators that combine the data from many different charts are a really good thing to look at. because they can give you an edge over other investors who are just watching YouTube videos to see what kind of astronomical gains they might actually be able to make. For instance, here we have the net unrealized profit and loss, or NUPL, and it used to be that the bull market would end whenever this thing got up into euphoria and greed. But in the last bull market, for the very first time, we didn't even really spend any time or maybe even get up into that kind of a zone. Because as you can see, there is diminishing returns here for the price. And we've been seeing a series of lower highs here and higher lows, to be fair, for the indicator itself. If you take a line, which I can't exactly draw on this chart, but just imagine one, and you take it from the peak of the very first bull market here on this chart and draw it across the peaks for the net unrealized profit and loss line here, you can see that it pretty much does make a straight line. And if you follow it out to where we're at now, it doesn't look like we've probably reached that line, but we're getting pretty darn close, and we're probably not going to make it all the way up into this euphoria and greed section unless we see a higher high here for the very first time since the beginning of this data. As we approach the end of this bull market, it's going to become more and more risky to try to get into those astronomical gains, but there are going to be bigger and bigger gains to be had if you can time it correctly. But unfortunately, that is usually whenever the retail investors into the market is when it is the most risky. So just be careful and don't let your emotions get the best of you. Whenever most people are FOMOing, it's probably a good time to start taking a little bit of profits. And I think that time is coming fast up here. But it's going to be hard to turn your back on the astronomical and parabolic pumps that we're going to be probably seeing here in the next couple of months. Looking at the daily chart for Bitcoin, it does look like we've reached the price target for this descending wedge. And usually the all time high does act as a bit of resistance, which is pretty hard to get over. So maybe we're going to see a little bit of a retracement, which could represent a good buying opportunity if you have been sidelined. Because when we reach back into the all time high territory, that's what they call price discovery. And usually that's when things get the pumpiest. So if you want to ride this parabolic price action and you want to enter the casino, then any kind of a sell off here could be a great opportunity to front run the majority of the retail investors and maybe buy a couple of moon bags. But just be careful because I think we are entering the last phase of this bull run. And if the 4 year cycles are still intact, then we're probably going to be topping out somewhere around October. Here we have the Crypto Bitcoin Bull Run Index, or CBBI, and it looks like its confidence that we're at the peak is about 76%. If you go down here and look at the chart, whenever we get to about the mid 70 range, that does indicate that the parabolic part of the bull run is going to start kicking off. And this chart right here has been pretty accurate actually throughout the past few bull markets, with the top being right around the time that this indicates we're at a 99% confidence. But between the mid 70s and 99, there is some significant gains. But the more parabolic it goes, the riskier it gets. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out on my price target for that cup and handle here. And if the CBBI does get up into the 90 percentile probability that we're at the top of the bull market around the time that we're actually hitting this price target, then I'm definitely going to be taking some chips off of the table. But like Michael Saylor says, never sell your Bitcoin. And my strategy is just to use altcoins in order to make more money during the bull market so that I can buy more Bitcoin whenever it starts to decline. I'll keep you guys updated on these price targets and these charts that indicate the top of the cycles. And my measure of success isn't really how many clicks I can get, it's actually how close to the tops or the bottoms of the cycles that I can call the reversal. At the bottom of the last bear market, while everybody was panicking about the FTX collapse, I was saying that it was probably a really great buying opportunity because things couldn't get much more fearful than they were right there. And even though I have been wrong a couple of times mid cycle, I've pretty much been right when it really counts. And since I am a contrarian investor, this is information that you're probably not going to be getting on 90% of other channels. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to follow somebody who actually keeps it real with you instead of just getting you to click on their videos. And let me know in the comments if you guys think we're about to enter a broader altcoin season that just doesn't only include meme coins. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to do only good every day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.